Hey guys, it's Eric, owner of Farpoint Farms, and today we're going to do a review and a demonstration of this, the cultivator, or as I call them, ripper. Basically, it's a non-motorized method of tearing up either existing or non-existing gardens. If you want to make a garden plot, you could use this to do this. You can rip your sod up and then go through that sod and toss it aside so you're down to bare earth. You can use this again, you roll over it a second time, and you'd have nice soft dirt, kind of like a tiller would do. Or if you have an existing garden like I do right now, which is covered in weeds because it's rained for like a month straight, I haven't had a chance to get up there. You take this thing and you go down through your rows, and you just tearing up your weeds. So it's really a nice little tool. Not very expensive either. I think I paid like less than $150 for it. Sears sells it, Lowe's sells it, Agri-Fab makes it, probably Brindley makes one too. But they're all sold under a variety of names. You know, I'd imagine Northern Tools probably carries it, Tractor Supply, your local hardware store may even have something like this. Now, in order to use this with your garden tractor, you are going to need a sleeve hitch adapter, which this one has a manual sleeve hitch. You know, my Husqvarna, which you can see in one of my other videos, has the Johnny Bucket Johnny Sleeve Adapter Kit, which is a electronic actuator, which is really a nice add-on feature. But it works either way. One of the advantages of having the electric actuator is you have more downward force. You can cause this cultivator to dig in a little deeper. That's a good and a bad thing. It's good because you, of course, can dig deeper and rip harder, but it's also bad because you can get it stuck pretty easily. It's kind of like a tractor pull. Once you get it down buried far enough, your tires are going to spin no matter if they're ag tires or chains or whatever. So that's something to keep in mind. This is actually going to be the first time I've used this tractor for this cultivator, but we'll be checking it out here shortly. So operation is fairly simple. The cultivator is operated on, if it's a manual one, with your lever here that raises and lowers the height of the cultivator. So while you're transporting it, you have it locked and high. And when you're actually ready to start ripping, you lower it down. These bars here that you see with these blades that face backwards like this, the rest will face this way. These are your height adjustments. So without the downward force that an electric actuator has, this causes it to kind of glide over the surface. As you can see, I have mine set to the highest, which means these will rip farther down into the soil than you may want, but it's adjustable. You can, cut this far into the soil, or you can cut that far into the soil. And it's heavy duty. I mean, the steel, it's not terribly heavy to pick up, but I have abused this thing for the last 4 seasons, and I've had no issues with it. In fact, and some of you may notice, my sleeve pin here is not all the way through, and that's not because of the hitch here, or not because of this implement. It's because I actually bent this. I had it too far down, ran over something, and it bent the bottom of it, so I'm going to have to get that replaced. But it shouldn't affect the operation of this today. So that's it. It's a Agri-Fab, like I said. Brindley probably makes one, sold under a variety of names. I know for a fact when I was looking for this one that I looked at Sears, and Craftsman carried their own brand of it, but it's probably a rebadged Brindley or Agri-Fab. So let's go up to the garden.
All right, as you can see, weeds have sprouted up everywhere, and they're about the only thing that's doing well in the garden so far this year. So we're going to have to go through, we'll till this a little bit with the cultivator, clean it up, pick out some of the bigger weeds. The rest of them will get mulched in and become some nutrients for the plants that I have growing here. And with a little luck, maybe the sun will come out, because we've had pretty much 40 days of rain or clouds. Today and yesterday are the first days with partial sunlight, so hoping for a break. I'll run it a few times, move the camera, run it a few times. Hopefully you'll get an idea of what it's capable of doing, and then we'll take a look at what happens afterwards, okay?
Okay, I won't bore you with all of this, but so here's what you end up with. This is 4 passes. I'll probably make 6 to 8 depending on how heavy the weeds are in those areas. So we end up with about 6 inches of depth we've cut to. So if this was early spring and you were getting ready to plant your garden, you'd make multiple passes and loosen up your soil, same way you would with a tiller. You end up with nice, soft, uncompacted soil that you can rake into mounds for your plants. As far as the weeds, of course, this is how we spend our summer, isn't it? We just end up picking weeds and going through them. It's done a good job of killing the weeds off. As you can see, this one here, the roots are cut off on it. And the stuff that gets tilled in, the stuff that gets ripped and then pushed under the soil, that's going to decompose and become nutrients for the plants that you do want to live. So that's a good thing, right? Oh, I won't bore you with the entire hour that it's going to take me to go through all this, but I'll show you what it looks like after we're done. And then we'll take the cultivator back down to the driveway, and I'll do a little wrap-up, because there are a couple things I'd like you to know about cultivating versus using a tiller, and then we'll be done. All right, as you can see, I'm not completely done, but I figured this would give you an idea of what's possible with the cultivator. Nice little sweep. It's done a pretty good job, and let's face it, done is better than perfect. So next I'll have to go down and get a rake and a hoe and rake up my potato hills and hoe a couple of the weeds that had bigger root systems than they should have. And that'll be it for another week or two. So let's go back down to the driveway, and I'm going to talk to you about a couple of the shortcomings that the cultivator has versus a tiller, and that'll wrap it up. Alright, so that's basically what a cultivator or ripper does. So if you buy in one of these expecting to have it replace a tiller as far as the speed and ease of use, you're going to be disappointed. However, if you're buying one because this costs about $150 new and a tiller costs about $1,500 new, the difference in price, if you're willing to put in a few extra hours of labor every time you have to use this thing, then yes, it's totally worth it. Some of the shortcomings you're going to have with this, and especially with a setup like this, if you have a sleeve hitch, but you don't have the linear actuator, then you're not producing any downward force. And so it's going to require more passes to dig down and cut up those roots. If you have a linear actuator and you have ag tires or chains, you're going to get good traction and you can control the downward force and dig in a little deeper, especially after your first pass, so you can really rip out those roots. That'll save you some time, but of course a linear actuator costs extra. And another thing, and this is kind of not so much related to this, but I want to mention this. A lot of people ask about, well, the durability of an older tractor versus something new like the Husqvarna that I have. And I read a lot on the internet about this over the years. This happens to be my first older GT that I've ever owned, and the price is right. You can see in one of my other videos how this whole thing came to be. Now I have a Husqvarna GT52 XLSI, and I have to say, the ability to add a linear actuator and the fact that it has a locking differential, in my opinion, makes that a vastly superior tractor than any of these older Craftsman or Husqvarna or whatever brand fill in the blank that you can find. Now I know some 80s model John Deeres that are about this size had locking differentials, and that obviously would probably be a very good tractor to have. This is a good tractor, and I've used it a lot, especially hauling mulch and gravel here with the front end loader. But I am disappointed in the fact that I can't get a linear actuator for this, and that with one-wheel drive, even with weights and chains and ag tires, sometimes it's slipping where the Husqvarna would not. That's not related to this, but I just wanted to throw that little piece of information in there for you. And maybe I'll do a follow-up video with the Husqvarna towing this thing around so you can see just how much of a difference and how much reduced time it would take to do the same job. I'm Eric, owner of Farpoint Farms. I hope you enjoyed this video on the Agri-Fab Cultivator, or as I like to call them, rippers. And if you like the video, great. Sign up. I'll be making more just like it. Take care.